All right. Hello, everyone. So, I'm Joanna, Director of Technical Consulting, but more importantly, I'm an architect. I am a CTA, and you're probably wondering, like, why would you want to listen to me? Why am I here to tell you anything about AI? Well, I've been working in the ServiceNow space for a terribly long time. I started in 2011. And during my time in ServiceNow, some of you listening might have seen my face before. And it's because I've done a lot. I was a ServiceNow partner for a while. I worked for ServiceNow. I spoke on, many stages at Knowledge. I hosted Knowledge sessions. And then I was a ServiceNow trainer for years. I have literally done every single role in the ServiceNow ecosystem, from being a partner, working for ServiceNow as a developer in sales. I was a customer myself, being a platform owner for a couple of years. I taught those formal ServiceNow training classes like Application Development Fundamentals, which was my favorite, right? The CAD class and exam. And I'm back here as not just the director of consulting, but an architect, hands on the platform and hearing AI and really trying to get a better understanding of, well, how does this work with the things that I do inside ServiceNow? All these years in, I'm still needing more information. So we're here to tell you a little bit about that. Joining me, I have Nate Wilson. Nate, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning. I almost said happy Friday, but it is only Thursday. I am Nate Wilson. I am the Senior Solutions Consultant here at Beyond 20. A little bit about myself. I have been in the ServiceNow ecosystem for 15 years, so I have been around it for a long time. I was at corporate back when there was less than 300 people in the company, and as you guys know, they're cresting on almost 30,000 employees now. So I've been around a long time. I've been in technology since out of high school. I started in Sony Gaming right out of high school. That's a whole story in itself. And I've been in IT or technology ever since in various ways. And if you ever want to sit down and talk about my career history, it's all over the place. And I never even went to college. It's very interesting. In my time at ServiceNow, what's going to be interesting about what we're talking about today is it's kind of dear to my heart is that I started at ServiceNow as the ticket triage intake person for what the time is high, which is now support.servicenow.com. Every incident that a customer sent in went through me first. There were some people in the UK who took over after me. There was a guy in the UK, but we to follow the sun, but I was that guy. And why is that interesting to me? Well, the AI stuff is very similar to what we were worried about with things like, email actions and assignment rules and getting rid of ticket triaging, right? So things like shifting left. After that, I moved into internal development and business analyst, and then moved into sales. And so I've been in the sales, pre-sales as a solutions consultant for about 8 or 10 years now, which is interesting because that's when this picture was taken, and you can see that sales will gray you. But yeah, that's essentially kind of who I am. Those of you on here that know me, hi, welcome. Good to see you. Those that don't, welcome. Again, if you ever want to reach out to me, want to talk more about my time at ServiceNow, things I know, things I've learned, I'm more than happy to do so.
It's been a fun journey. Our time back in ServiceNow, there was a day where Nate and I were both at corporate sitting in cubes, a couple cubes apart. So it's been a great journey in the ServiceNow space. So, with that said, what are we here to talk about? So, at the end of the day, there's a lot out there about AI. You can see lots of comments about agentic AI, workflows, generative AI, predictive AI. Well, at the end of the day, we're going to focus in on a couple of those topics that are going to matter specifically for us as architects, as we get a little bit more in the weeds. We're not here to sell you ServiceNow and AI agents today. We're here to empower you on how do I actually use them? How do I start? And then an actual use case. And in the use case that we're going to go through today, this isn't a typical use case. I'm not going to tell you about case management and how I bring in things to help doing cases effectively. We're going to walk you through an actual use case that one of our customers faced and a challenge that we had to identify. How does AI and something pre-existing on the platform work together? So with that said, we got to set a little bit of a foundation here on just a couple of topics to help us go through those use cases. So Nate, can you tell us a little bit about AI Control Tower?
Yeah, so the AI Control Tower is a way for you to manage not just the AI you're doing within ServiceNow, but it can also, and we'll talk about, workflow, data workflow fabric and AI fabric here in another slide. But it's also helps you manage your AI agents and other pieces of AI within your enterprise. The Tower is also a way to identify and automate end-to-end workflows. What's really great about this too is not only is the control tower there to help you manage and see what you've got for onboarding, what's going on, what are you assessing from your agents that you're maybe developing and building, but you will see, we just have this screenshot here. There's other screenshots, other pieces of the reporting that show you things like time saved, right? So you can actually see a trend on, okay, what did this agent take care of over time? And what is our savings on it? Is it monetary? Is it hourly? Like you can even correlate those things together too. So your control towers, what does your landscape of AI look like? And then how are you getting things like ROI on it? Good. So AI agents. This is kind of the core here. So there's two mindsets, two pieces, and we're going to talk about both of those. You have your agents and your skills. Skills can be utilized by agents, and we'll talk about skills here in a second. But the agents in and of themselves, these are the autonomous AI agents that go in and do things, quote unquote, for you. In the way that this you can think of this is, an agent maybe identifies something and then it goes and tries to remediate those things without human intervention. This is an example here where, maybe it sees a bunch of incidents inbound, or maybe an alert system is alerting something. Well, the AI agent's going to help by identifying those things, correlating these things, and then if you have remediation steps in there, it's going to try to remediate for you through its own playbooks, its own integrations, right? So that you can actually shift some of this stuff left, right? This is where the power of AI comes in, right? I was talking about where I used to be a ticket triager, and that's how I started my career at ServiceNow. And here I am selling it. It's very at a technical level, but shifting left, right? The thing is that's where the industries are going, right? What can we do to automate tasks, things that are very humans heavy right now that maybe we don't need people to do? There's some fear in there from people, some FUD about that, but we've heard that before, right? When email came out, people were, oh, email is going to destroy the post office, right? That didn't happen, right? When ServiceNow came out and people started seeing assignment rules back in the day, especially when you're doing really advanced things with them, doing, scripting in them and things like that, people are like, oh, this is going to completely destroy our frontline help desk, right? It didn't happen, right? What it actually did was help the industry take work that was costly and time consuming that didn't need to be, move it to an easier way. And then those people got to advance in their careers. They get to do better and bigger things for the company and help advance the company, help the mission, things like that. So that was very much what we saw with that, and that's where this is going, right? The AI agents are going to be there to advance not only your business but help your employees do bigger and better and harder things. Because AI can't do everything, right? It's not you're not going to go ask for a server to be racked, and the AI agent's going to somehow say, "Cool, I just racked that server." I plugged everything in, right? Now there are robots being built, but that's probably 20 years down the road. So, but the agents are there to do a lot of these things. So your agent contains instructions, it contains skills that we'll talk about to help with these. And we're going to talk about how that actually works as well. Joanna's going to actually give some examples later in the use case. But something important to point out is the workflow data fabric, right? This is so historically there was the integrations within ServiceNow. You had the integration hub, and now there's workflow data fabric. It's not just a rename, right? You're now able to have across your enterprise all of these different systems that ServiceNow can integrate to. And all of these different systems have all these different pieces of data. Well, old integrations or existing integrations were more action based. Somebody clicked on something, an email came in, a ticket got updated, a job ran, and then the integration would go and, maybe update data, grab data. Somehow somebody had to physically do something. But then you also had to have people, whether it's exporting the data into something like Tableau or Crystal reports and getting all these different data points from these different systems, right? Well, with the workflow data fabric is how do we get that data and not only be able to correlate it and collaborate on it, but through these integrations, do actionable stuff with the AI as well. It's not just going to be things, you'll see what Joanna's talking about later with some data updates, right? Where ServiceNow could potentially say, hey, in our system, this field is X, the data in here is Y. Instead of having the integration hard coded to say this field in ServiceNow, this field in Workday update, the AI agents can be built to learn or even do the update, right? So it's things like that. It's pulling in data that are from other systems too. Right now you might have a skill that summarizes a knowledge base article or a skill that summarizes an incident, right? To help with that. Well, what about things like remediation steps or external knowledge bases. Well, why not use the workflow data fabric to go to those external data sources, correlate all of that information, and present solutions? On top of that, maybe the AI can then start learning and you can start pointing it to use those things to then go fix the things as well. So just a high level of, what workflow data fabric is, right? But what we're talking about in the context of AI. So skills in the assist panel. So with the AI agents themselves, they're kind of the bigger things, right? Really go do a bunch of steps, really go try to do bigger things. A skill is, more singular based. And Joanna will talk about this a little bit more in detail as she's going through her thing, but it's more, a skill is summarize a knowledge article, right? That's a single skill, right? Content generation, when ServiceNow came out with the code generator, right? Hey, ServiceNow, write me a JavaScript, a glide script to, update an incident or something like that. And it would, go, okay, and it would build you the code. That's a skill more than it's an agent assist, right? So that gives you an idea of like skills are kind of singular, kind of pointed. Things around this to think about too are when you're building a skill, Joanna and I were talking about this yesterday, really think about when you're building it, do you want it to be very, very specific and do one thing, or can you build it so it's reusable? That's the other thing about when you're going through this, and we'll probably talk about this throughout this, is when you're building skills, when you're building agents, really think about early on, can I use this as a reusable something later with some minor tweaks, right? So am I building something in the ITSM stack that maybe I can use in the SPM stack? How do I make it that maybe that AI agent or that skill maybe just needs a minor tweak and put in the SPM side, right? So think of it that way too, is maybe keep it a little agnostic at first too, or if you really need it specific, keep it specific. But again, skills are very much that one kind of thing rather than a whole workflow at the end of the day. And in the Agent Studio, I will be honest, I just finally got hands on this. I've been kind of finally able to get into and start using AI Agent Studio in our instances, but it's where you go and start building out the AI step in ServiceNow, right? It comes with a vast amount of out-of-the-box stuff. My suggestion is if you've never done anything with this, go look at the out-of-the-box stuff. Spin up an instance. If you can do your PDI and you can get the AI stuff and install in it, go look at the out-of-box stuff because it will really show you what's available, right? Because you might be seeing stuff in there that, oh, I don't have to go build this, but also how it's built. And then you can build, test, and run. It's just your studio for building out AI, skills and agents within the platform. And you can actually run kind of test. You can run test runs. You can do test runs to see, what is the value? How is it, is it moving things through faster? Um, Other things to think about too that other products and pieces of the platform as you go through and maturing your AI side of the house too. Think about the process mining and process optimization within ServiceNow, right? Eventually, as you get into the enterprise level of the application stacks, that studio that's going to show you where your bottlenecks are, you can probably figure out how to use the AI agent and the AI agent studio to go and maybe do some streamlining of those processes as well and help you move through the bottlenecks in your process. So, really, that's the breadth. An enterprise platform, so that's the whole power of ServiceNow, right? Is just it doing it, all of these things, and then how do you grow into it? And that's kind of the background and the pieces of what we're going to be showing today. Joanna, back to
All
you.
right, enough, enough. I need to get into the weeds. I'm an architect here, right? I need to know more hands-on. Make it simple for me. So you keep talking about these skills, you keep talking about these agents. How do I figure out which one I'm going to use? So first, I want to clarify something that I've been struggling with as an architect. And the first thing is this concept of a skill. When you look at ServiceNow, you're going to see now assist and now assist and now assist. And then you're going to see the term skill kit, skill kit, skill kit. What are those when it comes to like hands on the keyboard? A skill kit is a collection of pre-built skills that are built by ServiceNow. Now, Assist is a package of those for a product area. Okay, so this is just a little fact that's going to help you know how some of these pieces come together. So when I dig into needing to solve a business process, right, a business need that I have been handed, and I am trying to identify where do I even start? Before I even think about what is out of the box built by ServiceNow that can help me, How do I know what I should be looking for even for, is it a skill kit I'm looking for, or should it be one of these agent things? And even some of those are pre-built by ServiceNow. So I start by asking myself some really simple questions. Does it need to do one thing or more than one thing? As soon as it starts needing to be more than one thing, then I'm going to start thinking about using an agent over a skill. Do I want to deploy it really fast? Well, that's always something that I want to think about, but actually, that doesn't matter. I can use skills and agents for that, right? They're both fast. Do I have to deal with really customized processes or data? We talked about workflow data fabric. If I've got a data fabric that's going to be involved in this, more often than not, I'm going to need an agent to do something with it rather than just a skill. Do I need to cross different like product domains in one go? Probably looking at an agent because I'm probably looking at a multi-step process if that's a consideration. Do I not want to use the out-of-the-box ServiceNow LLM that we've been used to using for things like virtual agent for a while? If I'm going custom LLM or wanting to use my own, typically going to go to an agent. A big one. Do I want this to function in the out-of-the-box assist panel? If yes, I'm probably leaning towards skills. If I need to use it somewhere else, like virtual agent or hands off entirely, probably going into an agent as well. Okay, so those are some of my starting cases that I'm going to ask myself when it comes to looking at this business solution. So let's do this. Let's actually look at a use case. So everyone meet Mary. Mary has won the lottery, and as a result, she has resigned from Beyond 20. She is exiting our company. And as part of her leaving, she wants all of her personal data removed. According to the company privacy policies, she can ask for that, and we have to do it. Pretty simple request here. Okay, Mary, how are we going to support this? So the first thing that Mary did, because this is how she does her job, is she opened up ServiceNow and she decided I'm going to go straight to the chat bot because I don't know how the heck I request this. There's probably something out there that tells me, but I don't want to go look for it. And I'm going to go into this chat bot and I'm going to say, please remove my data. So then what happens? So I, at Beyond 20, well, I need to make sure it's actually Mary sitting at this keyboard and asking for her data to be removed. And it's not John who's jealous trying to mess with Mary here. So I need to verify Mary's identity. After that, I need to get rid of the ServiceNow content that is tied to Mary. And then I need to look at my second platform that we at Beyond 20 use, right? Workday, and make sure that we're removing the content from Workday. And then Mary needs to know, hey, this is complete. You're good to go. So that's kind of the process that we need to go through. So what are my design considerations? So the first big thing that I need to make sure that I'm thinking about when Mary executes her right to be forgotten, right, this privacy need here, is that I already have something inside Beyond 20 that's running. And again, this was a customer use case, but I'm going to pretend that it's us. Our company already has a process deployed to support California and the California Consumer Protection Act, CCPA. And in that case, I have users who can go into our portal and they can submit a form. And when they submit that form, it generates a bunch of tasks that tells other people inside Beyond 20, hey, go take care of this for us. And then eventually those tasks gets completed and that person who submitted that request gets an update. That's a pre-existing process we have. Okay, so we're expanding this now though, right? This is an entire right to be forgotten. And as I'm going through this, I don't just want to handle CCPA with the solution I want to go. I want to use AI. I want to find a way to automate this and do it as much as possible. So I'm going to expand this and I'm going to design it as if it works for CCPA, the general right to be forgotten, and GDPR, because you know what? Beyond 20 might be going international. So I want to make sure that I'm future-proofing that one. So I've got those kind of design considerations at the very beginning. And then I got to think about all of the data itself. So today, there are 7 people who go through and they find all this information inside ServiceNow and they delete it. Eek. I don't like that, right? ServiceNow, they do not like it when you delete most of their data. It creates those orphan records. You have reference fields that just end up empty. You can't report correctly. It causes a little bit of chaos and we lose some of the context that it is we need to have. So I don't really want to delete it, but I'm thinking about where's all of the places that Mary's data is going to live, right? Start with a really simple one. Well, Mary's user record. And what are all of the related data points for Mary? The user record, her user profile, the groups that she's a part of, the roles that she's a part of, her preferences, right? We take right to be forgotten to mean more than just PII. Any identifiable information for Mary, we want to try and get rid of. And I use the term get rid of intentionally because some of it we may want to anonymize. Ooh, I like that idea. And other times I may want to actually old password hashes. Yeah, definitely just going to delete those. And then I can't forget about Workday. The Workday team knows that there's a need for this, and they've been working in their own processes to give me something easy to help me with mine. So I need to go through and I need to delete or I need to anonymize all of this data so PII does not remain. Okay. So am I going with an agent or a skill? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ask myself some of these simple questions again. For what I need to do, is this a single well-defined task that I need to do, meaning one item? No, I need a whole bunch of those, right? I got to verify an identity. I got to, anonymize some data. I got to delete some data. I even got to go tell Workday, run this thing you built for me. Okay. So multi-step processes tells me I probably need an agent. It needs to be stateless and reusable across workflows, agents, and other flows. I mean, I guess I could use it for more stuff in the future. I do kind of want it to cross CCPA, GDPR, and I want it to just be, right to be forgotten that we can use for anything we want. So, ooh, I like that, right? I might need a skill there. Do I need multiple skills? Oh, I guess I could make those as multiple skills, right? I'm thinking about reusability here. If I'm thinking about reusability, like Nate pointed us to, if I have one use case, maybe I want to use it for more. Maybe anonymizing data is a skill that I should be able to use in all sorts of different ways. Maybe not just in this use case. Is it predictable and doesn't need user interaction? Well, I guess it kind of depends. How do I do that user interaction? I mean, I guess if a request is submitted, after it's submitted, there's no user interaction. Okay, so I'm confused now. I see some stuff with skills that I need. I see some stuff with agents that I need to support this use case. So ask yourself one question as your starting place. Do I need a conversation, decision making, context, or just a repeatable single action to solve this problem? If all it is a single repeatable action, you're going to skills. That's your easiest thing to do. If it is anything more than that, you probably need an agent involved. But truly, the answer typically tends to be both. That I need skills, and yes, typically multiple, and an agent to help orchestrate those skills. Okay, so now I've identified I need some skills and I need some agents. I've been told that we have a pre-existing process for this CCPA that obviously I need to tie into. And then anonymization, like I kind of like that, but I don't know about all of you. I do not want to go and write a script that is going to go and me have to tell it, I need to go and delete these 10 million different things and all over these places. That'd probably be like a 10,000 line script. I do not want to write script that masks, anonymizes, and deletes that data. I need it to be easier. So I am going to my leadership and I'm telling them, hey, how do we support this right now? And they came back and they told me about something called privacy management that they're using for CCPA. Nate, can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah. So privacy management is a part of the ServiceNow platform. So it is a way for you to not only allow users like Mary to submit a privacy request, kind of, the GDPR, get rid of my personal data, but also see where you're at with it. The reason this is important is the tracking of it, right? So if you are audited, from a federal level or, any type of level, and they will come in and go, okay, your CCPA, your GDPR, how are you tracking with this? How are you doing with this privacy management? Well, you can use ServiceNow to see where you are in compliance and where you're not. So not only is the privacy management that request that Mary has made, but it's also the ability to track how you're doing with it. So the other thing is you can also, the screenshot here on the right, out of the three, the one that's kind of off to the right, that shows you kind of a framework around what it is, and then you identify what these different points of data are, right? So, is it the phone number? Is it this? Is it something that you need to mask or delete, right? So the privacy management allows you to track all that, where you're at with it. Are you in compliance? This is huge because, GDPR came out a long time ago. and tracking it and being in compliance is a big deal within the UK. Well, in Europe as a whole, the EU. Uh, California's got its own, but there are other ones rolling out. I think Virginia's got a Privacy Act. There's a couple other states out there, right? It's not going away anytime soon, and I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes federal, law at some point within the next like 5, 10 years, because it's getting more of a hot ticket, hot ticket item, more important to people as a whole for privacy. So. But yeah, you can get privacy management within the platform.
Okay, so my company must have this privacy management thing. And they told me in some of the context that they have all of these tasks that are being generated to help do the CCPA stuff. So my guess is they're using privacy management to take in a request, probably like a record producer that is out there generating a case and then manually fulfilled case tasks for CCPA. But you just told me about something that really I want to highlight, and that is, I mean, there's a lot of governance that goes on in this tool. Like being able to track for all of that auditing stuff, here are the information objects that exist. That's kind of
Exactly.
interesting. I wonder if that has our Workday content in it. You think that's part of Workflow Data Fabric?
Yes. Yes, you would be able to then go to have the AI agents then help within Workday and get those data points. Well, we know what they are in ServiceNow, but there's
Okay.
ways for the AI to get it in Workday as well.
Yeah, so I kind of like this, right? I need to be able to know it's the user table, it's the member table, all that stuff. And looks like this is something that's already going to help me with some of those other goals I have.
Yeah, and to your point about something that you were talking about earlier is the use case here, right? Well, think about, okay, this is somebody physically requesting this, right? But what about just an offboarding use case? Well, if you build this AI agent flow properly, then say somebody gets offboarded, you can utilize this existing agent to go do these things as well. We're actually working with a customer right now. I can't name the name, for they are having an onboard offboard process, and they're struggling with locking people out of systems. Well, that's what Workflow Data Fabric is going to help you with an AI agent, right? Somebody gets offboarded, the AI agent's going to go, well, what about Workday? What about SAP? What about all these other systems too, right? So making sure that those people are actually locked out, and then on anonymized, like Joanne is talking about.
So I love it. I mean, that's the kind of stuff my boss talks about all the time. I'm an architect, though, and at the end of the day, I want to make life easy for me to figure out how the heck do I not need to write a 10,000 line code of what to delete and or anonymize, like you said. And I kind of think I like this thing to help me support that. But how can I get around doing all of this anonymization? Like, I don't want to write a 10,000 line script. Delete, yeah, I get delete. I got to go delete a user hash. But what about the stuff I don't want to delete? Oh, ServiceNow has a way to solve for that too. Can you tell us about data anonymization? You mentioned it a minute ago.
Yeah, so this is a way. It's within the Vault, right? ServiceNow has an offering called Vault, and this is a feature of Vault, or a piece of Vault, or a part of Vault, or however they want to, but
Yeah,
it's
a
a feature of Vault,
component of
a
ServiceNow
component of
Vault.
ServiceNow Vault, where there are ways for the system to identify things like PII, things like, hopefully not social security numbers, but some people have them in their systems, phone numbers, email addresses, home addresses, right? It's very common, especially today, to have your home address within your user profiles within your systems of record, right? Whether it's Workday or ServiceNow, because how am I supposed to get a laptop to the office if I don't go to the office? I mean, I'm remote. I've been remote for over 10 years. So knowing where to ship things, right? But how do I anonymize those things? Well, there's ways to not only use the data anonymization within ServiceNow to hide that from specific people, but when being offboarded, hash it out, right? Get rid of it. And then you determine what you do with it, right? Are you, like Jonah said, are you deleting it? Are you masking it? Are you hashing it? Things like, uh, setting up keys so that down the road somebody might have to unencrypt it and look at it. But how do you do that? Well, that's what the data anonymization within Vault is for. But the thing about the AI side of the house is it can actually now go do that for you, where historically, um, and this goes back a year, so I'll try to keep this short and sweet because I know that Joanna still's got weeds to continue to go through. But within ServiceNow, there was PII. You had to write a business rule, and you had to have it identify the actual physical field and then go hash it through coding and things like that. Well, now with the AI agents, it should be able to go in and just do those things on those fields. It should identify, hey, this is a phone number, this is an email address or a personal email address, this is an address that needs to be fixed, anonymized in some way, right? So, but yeah, that's data anonymization within ServiceNow.
Man, that sounds like an easy button to keep me from writing that script. I like it. Okay, so So I'm still going back to my use case, right? I'm thinking from my architecture hat. I got to solve this problem. And yeah, all these features are really cool. Like I like what we're learning about here and what we're telling me about, but I'm still an architect and I'm still struggling a little bit to figure out where do I go? I've identified I need some kind of skills, potentially, some kind of agent thing. There's this cool data anonymization feature out there I want to use. There's a pre-existing process for CCPA. And I got to figure out what to do with this workday thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how the heck the existing CCPA process works because something is out there that I have to tie into. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and find that. And when I find that, I'm finding the rule-based scripted workflows, right? And I'm using the term workflow here. I don't mean ServiceNow workflow. At the end of the day, there's a pre-existing process using ServiceNow tools of some sort. And I have to look at those and say, here is what I'm going to do with those. So in my case, this organization has a flow in ServiceNow tied to the case record that gets created from the record producer in privacy management. And that current flow, and I'm talking about OG ServiceNow flows, is going to go and it's going to just generally create manual tasks that have to be fulfilled within that privacy case. Manual tasks that are there. Okay, so I know I've got that to deal with, but I keep hearing about the AI equivalents. When do I start to use one compared to when do I start to use others? And which one actually matters? Okay. So at the end of the day, agentic workflows, predictive workflows, Gen AI powered workflows, at the end of the day, I am going to look and just see, okay, is this just something I want automated? Is it something I wanted to actually do some kind of processing on and identify something for me? Or is this a pretty rigid set of steps? When that happens, I'm going to know which one of these I should follow. Okay, so now I have to evaluate that for my use case here. Okay, so as part of this, when would I use this agentic workflow compared to the other kinds of workflows? I've got this pre-existing flow. Let's actually evaluate these options. So the existing flow, it's super rigid. It goes in and manually creates cases. Okay. Generative AI. Is that intending to like help somebody do this? Do I still want people involved with this? Am I trying to just make it more efficient for the people who are doing this? Or am I going to go with an agentic workflow, right? Agentic AI. Do I want the AI to trigger and perform a multi-step process? Okay, so now let's think about this use case. So Mary. Mary is actually interacting with virtual agent. Can virtual agent trigger a flow? I mean, yeah, hypothetically, it could trigger the existing flow, but it still has those manual steps. That flow could then potentially, I guess, trigger the skills I have to go through. Okay, so I'm gonna step back here. Okay, let's think about this process again. Step one, I need to verify the identity of who it is. Okay, how do I know that Mary is Mary and not John? Once I've done that, then I need to do this, anonymization, this delete action. Then I need to go handle Workday. And then I need to get that confirmation back to Mary that says it's been done. So I'm already going to start by planning to create a couple of skills. I'm going to have a skill to verify the identity. I'm going to have a skill to do the anonymization. I'm going to trigger that feature inside of that ServiceNow product area. I'm going to trigger something to actually do the external anonymizing, right? Workday, turns out that they actually gave me just a REST API that I have to call with the employee number, and then it goes through and it does the behavior on its side. And then I got to check the status and find a way to check the status easily because it needs to be able to go and see, like, did that integration complete? Like, human beings don't typically look at the logs to give somebody a status on that, right? I need to make that automated. So I know I have 4 skills. Okay, well, I found out that I need to have an agent to be able to connect together or, handle 4 skills in the first place. So I want AI to identify this is my use case, and I want it to perform the multi-step processes. So at a minimum, I need an agentic workflow. And that's going to handle Mary's use case if I'm going into virtual agent and I'm asking for you to remove me. Okay, but what about the pre-existing process? We have that CCPA request that is still there, that is still a record producer, right? There's still that backend flow that generates all of those cases. Well, maybe I should do a little bit of both. Skills can be triggered by an agent, but they can also be triggered within a flow. So just like in the ServiceNow table API, when you create a new ServiceNow table, that API is there and it is ready for you to use. Second number one. Same thing with a skill. When a skill is created, there is a REST API that can be used to trigger a skill. I can have my flow, the old school flow I'm talking about, if I don't want to go down one of the newer design paths, I can have that trigger each of those skills and perform those AI assisted actions. The difference in this case, though, using the flow compared to the agentic workflow is in the flow, by the time I get to skill number two, this anonymize, I have to have a different way of verifying the identity of the person who submitted this. So maybe I need to go and ask a couple more questions on that request form, right? That record producer to verify that this isn't John, this is actually Mary. And I don't use the skill to verify identity live, right? I'm doing that manually behind the scenes in a very dedicated, restricted point of view. So I can have both, and I can already reuse some of them. Anonymize, external, status check. I can put all three of those in my OG skill flow that, I'm sorry, not my OG skill flow, my OG flow that is working with the privacy request capability, all within that. So at the end, I'm going to use both. My use case for Mary specifically in supporting virtual agents is going to go down this process. But those same skills are then going to be plugged into the existing CCPA request. And actually, I'm going to make that more than the CCPA request. Now I'm going to have a request form. And that request form is going to be a privacy removal request that handles CCPA, it handles GDPR, and it handles all of the new upcoming states, federal rules that are going to request the same things as well. So I've got it in both. Now, that kind of solves what I need for Mary, but I'm still wondering, like, what are other times when I would need the agentic workflow? Well, if I need to more natively do a set of behaviors, like as part of that request, ask Mary a live question that says, do you want to just get rid of your data or do you want a copy of it as well? I will always need an agentic workflow if I need to do more complex branching and conditional checks than when I would work traditionally in Flow. So I do have a little bit of a place for both. So in the end, to support this use case for Mary, right, let's go all the way back to our kind of process here. I got to find that way to verify Mary's identity. Okay. And the virtual agent, I'm going to ask her questions. And my record producer, the pre-existing one, I'm just going to ask those questions in the form instead. I'm going to execute the skills specifically that do that removal and that anonymization, and then trigger my workday capabilities to go through and get that. And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to say, hey, Mary, we're all done. Bye. Come and say hi. Take me out to lunch sometime. I like that lottery. So I've gone through kind of a couple of different flows here. So in this case, right, I'm not thinking about how do I build from the ground up when it comes to AI, when it comes to these components. Instead, I'm saying, okay, what pre-existing ServiceNow artifacts do I have to interface with? Which ones am I going to change, like replacing those manual case tasks with AI capabilities, okay, like skills. And then I'm creating that end-to-end workflow that also is something new, that agentic workflow that handles secondary use cases like virtual agent. Could Mary have just used an old school flow with no AI capabilities and interacted with it from the virtual agent? Yes, but her user experience was going to be different. She was going to submit that request, and then at some point in the future, maybe she'd get a response, but it still had to wait for all those manual actions. With the agentic workflow, it's going to do those question asking to verify her identity. It's going to go and perform all of those actions to delete everything, and then it's going to come right back to Mary, and maybe it's been a second or two. And she is right then going to get a confirmation that says, hey, we're all done. Congratulations. So it solves a lot of those problems. So how do I actually get started, right? Joanna, you've walked me through a use case for, this right to be removed, this GDPR. What are companies doing in reality when it comes to AI and adopting AI inside ServiceNow? They are not going out and saying, I'm going to build a custom skill, I'm going to build a custom agent from day one. Pretty much every company, as step number one, is they're going to say, okay, am I ready? Meaning, do I have use cases that I want to try and use AI to solve? Or are there behaviors that I think AI can help with? So it's asking some basic questions, doing some kind of technical readiness. Number two, they're taking tools like Now Assist and they're activating it. I'm gonna go play with those out of the box ones. I want to see how summarization works. I want to go and see how creating a knowledge article works for me. Man, code generation, I freaking love that tool. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna look at the pre-built capabilities and I'm gonna test them out. I'm gonna play with them. I might even deploy some of them out there and see how they're helping problems. Okay, and then I'm gonna do what I do most of the time in ServiceNow. Come on, let's be real. A lot of people don't start from scratch when we're building stuff. We insert and stay and we tweak. So I'm gonna copy one of those pre-existing skills and maybe I'm gonna tweak it a little bit to do something custom or to work the way that I want it to work. I'm going to configure an out of the box one. And then after I've done all of these things and still I don't have a use case that it's solving for me, only then I'm going to go start building my own skills and my own agents. So some major takeaways before we dive into some questions here just about skills, about agents. You are always going to want to start with the easiest path first for AI, and that is always going to be skills, those single repeatable actions that do one specific thing. Then when you start thinking about agents, you're thinking about, do I need to automate this behind the scenes? And or I should say, do I need the ability to combine multiple skills and even other behaviors into one more complex workflow? Yeah.
From my side, I actually started in the AI industry. I was at a competitor of ServiceNow as a virtual agent company only, competitor of MoveWorks as well, which ServiceNow owns. And so I've been around this a lot longer than some people an enterprise side of the house. And what's really been interesting about this is the growth of it. When I was doing this, the main use case was for virtual agents. This was probably, let's see, 5, 6 years ago, was case deflection, which is still a thing, right? If you can do self-service with AI, that's a massive ROI and a massive process savings and time savings within any company or enterprise. But the number one thing was password reset, right? Anywhere between 30 and 70% of the inbound requests to the IT service desk was password reset. Well, that's been solved, right? So thinking of those types of use cases for everybody out there, um, think about those types of things, right? What are the things that you're struggling with? What are the top, 10, 15, 20 types of incidents, types of requests, types of cases you get in? I don't use the word ticket. ServiceNow is not a ticketing system. So it's like that. So it is an incident, it is a request, it is a case, it is a project task, whatever it is, because it's different types of work. But what are those that you could potentially automate through AI is what this is solving. So again, if you guys want to talk through my history with all this, I'm happy to. You guys probably have my contact information through this. You got one way to get to touch with Beyond 20, and we're here to support you in that. If you need us to come in and look at, hey, what are we seeing in your work streams that we could solve with AI, right? So yeah, this is kind of where I've gone in my career and just where I see this going. It's career advancement, it's process and time savings for our industries. It's really exciting stuff.
And for me as an architect, I'm looking at AI, and when I first hear AI, just in general, I get a little nervous because I wonder, is there going to be a point in time where AI is going to replace my job? And the answer is no, absolutely not. Because at the end of the day, they still need me to help identify how do I solve the whole business outcome, right? The whole case needed, or than just one specific problem. Yeah, AI can reset my password, but in a case like GDPR, right to be removed. When I am trying to figure out what are all of those places that lives and all of the different ways that I can accommodate that and all of the other systems that I need to go out there and consider, like Workday, AI and just ServiceNow can't figure that out on itself without me identifying and supporting it architecturally and like from a data management perspective. But what I like about AI is the fact that it has the ability to do some of the minimum things that we need for any problem I solve. And that is the governance and auditing tracking for doing these things. So in privacy request management, it's still going to create a case when I use a skill in an agent. It's just going to automatically close that case and automate the behaviors without a person opening up that case task and spending time to complete it. So I still know, did I get a deflection from that? right? Instead, I'm going to have them and I'm going to go and handle other privacy needs, right? Privacy requests. So there's a little bit of both. But I needed to know as an architect, how do I plug these things into something pre-existing, right? I have so many flows out there that I built for catalog items, supporting processes, and I don't want to scrap all of that work. Maybe I want to incrementally roll out AI. So maybe step one isn't going through and building all four of those skills. Maybe it's building one. And maybe that one skill is the identity verification. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. I can do a little of both.
Beautiful, beautiful finale. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Nate. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We appreciate your time and look for the recording tomorrow. Have a great day.